Hey everybody, welcome to the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Peterson. Today we are in part 5 of the journey to legacy wealth. And really today we're going to talk about scaling for exponential growth. How to put this thing on a trajectory that you cannot stop. In other words, once you get going, it just not only becomes good, it becomes kind of what I call ludicrous, right? When you're just making money hands over fist, don't know what to do yourself, and all of a sudden money will now no longer be your motivator. Now, who would like to get to that level? Okay. I know, like, when I talk about my sunsets and palm trees life, living, why I love Hawaii, why it means something to me, it's really about that lifestyle. It's about when you're able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, and bring friends along and have experiences and life and vigor and excitement and passion and all the things that I think we truly desire and want. This one thing called multifamily investing, man, I'm telling you, when done right, it can lead to things you never thought possible. So before we get started though, let me just give a big shout. We have almost 435 reviews on Apple. Like, first of all, I want to thank all my listeners for the tremendous love and respect. That to have that many reviews is phenomenal. So I really just want to say thank you. Our podcast is starting to get ranked nationally, locally. Listen, if you guys get value out of this podcast, smash the share button, share it, send it out, let people know about this thing, because we're going to keep providing value, content, and just some how-to stuff, along with great guests. I've got a lot of great guests getting ready to show up. That's going to give you some very detailed, factual, like, let me help you kind of knowledge. I think it's important, right? So a couple of reviews that just came out. Sophia says, inspirational. I wish this podcast was around 10 years ago when I started my journey. Plenty of content for us listeners. Thank you, Multifamily Legacy Podcast. Thank you so much for that, Sophia. Also, Joshua says, this podcast is for you. This is an awesome podcast. If you're starting out or still trying to decide where to start, this podcast is made for you. And listen, it is. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna toot my own horn. I'm not good at a lot of things, but I love talking about the journey and hopefully leaving enough valuable nuggets that it really can help you along your journey and get you unlocked and get you unstuck and propel you to this cash flow life and the life of it's just different. It really is. And it's kind of like holding lightning in a bottle, man. And that's what I equate it to. And it is one of the best feelings in the world to know that you did it, right? To scale that top and to get that success, it means something. It is something to strive for. And when you get there, it's a great feeling. And then what happens is you just see another challenge or another hill to take on, right? And that's the beauty of this game, is you can play as big or as small as you want. But when you're playing for cash flow, it's life-changing. Because once you replace your income, you now are free. And then when you start adding the extra money in there, when you start replacing like stupid money on top of that, that just gives you more options. And I don't know about you, but I like having options. Options are fun. Options include like Hawaii and travel and just to do things that normally most people can't. And I enjoy those things. I'm not all about Corey, and I'm not, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't surround and make money my goal and my life and the thing. But I do like what it provides. I love the lifestyle that I get to live. And I still try to stay humble, try to stay focused. And hopefully that's you too. So scaling for growth. One of the biggest things about scaling that I really want to just kind of jump in and understand is it does take a little bit of planning. Okay. And really that's kind of like one of the first building blocks is to understand your vision, your plan, what you want to do, where you want to go. Because if you don't know where you want to go, right, anything can get you there. Then understanding to use leverage. Once you understand leverage, right, we talked about in the very first part of this 5 or 6 point series was, the first series was all about leverage, right, and understanding the power of leverage and, what that does for you. Then understanding systems. It's one thing to have leverage, but if you can leverage that into systems, another big building block of that. And then last thing is it takes action, right? We can have all these things kind of planned out and done, but it really is that missing piece, that one piece that makes the difference is action. Taking action is how you get growth happening. You can do listen, I see it all the time where I see analysis paralysis. Those people that go about their like they're professional boot campers, and they love the information, but what they don't like to do is the work. And if you don't like doing the work, listen, there is no cure for that, because you simply have to put in your dues. But if you put in your dues, listen, life is it's like a box of chocolates, right? You never know which one you're going to get, except when you put the work in, you can pretty much say, I'm going to go this way, and that's what usually happens, right? So it's not like opening up that box of chocolates, I wonder which one I'm going to get. Listen, when you start putting work in and you're moving towards a direction, things tend to happen the way you see it. Now, that's not always perfect, but usually when you're focused on the prize, see, obstacles come in the way. But when you're looking and focused on your vision, you just seem to kind of maneuver around them or over them, whatever, but you're still focused on that vision and what you need to do, and you're taking action every step of the way. All right, so when we talk about scaling for growth, one of your biggest hurdles or things that you've got to deal with is taxes, right? It's the one thing that can drag you down from going faster. And so the great thing about commercial real estate and residential apartments is right now we currently have some laws that are really helping you with that burden, and that's the cost segregation study. And so every time we buy an apartment complex, we usually do a cost segregation study. And just to understand the power of this, we bought a $10 million building last year. We got a $3 million cost seg depreciation. In other words, what that is instead of saying you've got land and a building, the normal depreciation schedule for apartments is 27.5 years after you've taken the value of the land away. Well, that's great, and that in theory is good, but the cost segregation study is where an engineering firm comes in and says, you don't just have a building, you have a bunch of appliances, you've got electrical, you've got drywall, you've got fixtures, and all these different things have different time lifespan values. And so what it allows you to do is take everything that's 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 15 year, and accelerate that into year one. It's called bonus depreciation. And bonus depreciation, that's where we got that $3,000 of bonus depreciation that we were able to use right away. And because we are I'm a real estate professional. So in other words, I do real estate full time. It can help offset other income. So when you're making that cash flow profit from the property, but then you get depreciation, you basically can say you're not going to have to pay taxes. And listen, being able to circumvent taxes is one of your biggest burdens. And if you can get that burden away from you, it allows you to go so much faster. You can scale so much faster and use money to buy more deals. And really that's what we're talking about, is when you can get and use the money where you normally pay taxes and use that to reinvest in more property. Again, we're using the power of leverage. And, leverage means a lot. And we're going to talk about it here in just a second. But it really is about getting into massive action. So cost segregation is one way to help get, be able to scale. The other thing about scaling is once you kind of get let's talk about your team and people. Because, when you first start, if you're by yourself, you're like, hey, I'm making the move to do this. What do you need? What people do you really have to have on your team? And I call it your power team. And simply put, you're going to need a loan officer, a private placement lawyer, a syndication lawyer. You're going to need a management company. You're going to need someone that does insurance on commercial real estate, a commercial insurance person in your life. You're going to also want just to have a regular legal lawyer that does contracts, right? Hopefully LLCs as well. And then you're going to also want to have a great title company that you use as well. Those are some of the basics. And these are people that are usually third party to you, but they're still the right people. And if you have great people in that pipeline, they're going to help you do a lot of the minutia of this deal called commercial real estate apartments. But there's also this you and factor. Because what I know about apartment investing is it's typically a team sport. It doesn't feel or seem like most of the time people are doing this business alone because there's a lot of moving parts. And so initially you may have a partner when you're doing deals. Now, I've always said this, and I believe in this ism, is that you should do deals and not partnerships. I truly believe in that more now than ever. And because, listen, you could come together with you and maybe a partner and you say, hey, let's go do this deal. And listen, you could come back and say, 6 months later, hey, guy, do you want to do another deal? And I think by keeping everything in a deal bucket, it's really easy to understand the deal. When you communicate about what this deal looks like, what we're going to do to the deal, how are we going to rehab it, what's the plan for the deal, you can get really clear on that. But what it really does is allows you to have other people in your life that you may want to do deals with. And I think it's really when you have a partner, what happens if you get unequal in your partnership? In other words, you created a 50-50 partnership and, 3 years down the road, it's more like 75-25. You're doing 75 of the work, but your partner is still getting 50% of the money, but he's really doing 25% of the work. Is that fair? Right? How do you manage out of that? And what happens if you break up? What happens if you get divorced? Right? Is it ugly? Can it hurt? Can it be painful? The answer to all that is yes. Could it be messy? Yes. So what if you just looked at it from the standpoint of let's do deals and not partnerships? In other words, we can do this deal together. And that way, if one deal goes bad, it's just the deal. It's not forever life, because you got other deals that you do with maybe other people. Or at least you keep it very separate like that. I think it's very important to do it. And I believe in doing deals. And I really just want to emphasize that to you guys as listeners, because a lot of times when you're going about this business, it really does take a lot of work and a lot of action. And if you can split that up with somebody, it makes a lot of sense. But just keep it where it's your company and the other person's company. And then if you keep on doing deals together and you feel like it really is going to that next level, then you can become a partnership, right? But what I see too often is people jump into these partnerships without truly knowing the partner. They didn't date. So date for a little bit, right? Take some time to really get to know that partner and see if that's the person you really want to be a partner with, because you may not. You may see some dark sides, right? Some Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and, you may not like it. So why not kind of put yourself a little buffer there? And I just think it's important. Okay, so I know I'm harping on it for just a minute, but I really want to make sure I push it out there because I've seen too many of my good friends go down this path and then get sucked into a business divorce, and they hate it, man. They absolutely hate it. And it just rips them. It rips them financially. Just, oh gosh. And I just don't want you guys to suffer from it, right? I suffered from it on my very first deal. It wasn't fun, and it was very nasty. And there's just no need for it, okay? All right. So the other thing is when you talk about people and team, eventually you're going to want to hire some people. I think, now not for everybody, but I think when you start scaling and you're starting to get a little bit bigger, you've got your first deal, right? First deal, you put everything into it. Boom. Okay, got it done. Now I got a management company doing it. Then I go find another one, right? Okay. And I are you doing multiple deals a year? Is it just one deal a year, right? And really, listen, you can become a multimillionaire just doing one deal a year. But eventually, you're going to start finding some places where you might want to hire people. And one of the first places that I see a lot of people where they should be hiring, in my opinion, is a VA, a virtual assistant, to help with your underwriting. When you're looking at deals, a lot of entrepreneur types, visionaries, the guys that see that that it can put all the pieces and have but a lot of times visionaries are really not good on the details, right? Details. And underwriting is all about details and data. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we are not equipped to do this well. Now we can look at the data once it's been amassed and then kind of make some bigger decisions. We're pretty good at that. But where I see a lot of investors fail in this business is they underestimate the amount of work it requires to find a deal. And listen, I'm not talking about just looking at one or two deals. I'm talking about looking at hundreds of deals. You got to look at hundreds of deals to find some deals, to find one. And most people will get tired after 10, right? I underwrote 10 deals. There's nothing out there. Well, keep looking, brother. You ain't looked hard enough, okay? What if you looked at 100 and you couldn't find something? Well, look at 101. Look at 200, right? Look at as many deals as you have to find the one that's going to work. And that's just the way it is. And if you will do that, and I'll show you here in a minute, we're going to do like a little bit of like, what does it look like? Is if you were just to do one deal a year, if that's all you did, you had 365 days in the year, and all it took is you took one time to find one apartment deal. I'm just going to show you where you can become a multi-millionaire just doing that. So leverage, I'm just going to tell you, I think most people, one of the first hires you should ever hire is your virtual assistant to help you with underwriting. Teach them, train them, how to, where to put it. Once you get them good, that'll help you so much to getting your underwriting. When find there, you have a potential deal from a broker, they send you a T12 and a rent roll, that your VA can put it in your underwriting software, with 90% of accuracy and all the information in the right spot, where you can do the 10% to make sure that you understand and massage it to make it, what you do at a high level. To me, that makes a lot of sense. Most people are not doing it that way. And what happens is when you're doing work that you're really not equipped for, you're not very efficient at it. It drains you of everything that you are. Hello? Am I talking to you? Because I know I talk to me when I do this. Like, I'm not built for this crap. I'm not built to underwrite 100 deals. I would go mad. I'll listen. And not only would I go mad, it would take me forever. No, thank you. So what do? I just hire people to do it for me. Way smarter, right? Use your strengths. Understand what you're good at, what you're not. And see, you don't have to be good at your things you suck at. Don't even try. Just be good at the things you're good at. And in fact, the things you're good at, be great. Be a master. Be like Jedi level, like Wu-Dan Ninja kind of stuff, right? Like that's where you want to be. Like I do this, not just good, but I'm excellent. Do that. To me, that helps you take massive action when you know what you're good at. Know what you're good at, know what you suck at. Hire the people that what you suck at, hire it out as soon as possible. They always say, how do you grow? Well, you grow when it makes sense, and probably, as soon as you can possibly hire the things that you suck that you need to get done. I truly believe that. One of my second hires was, for me, was a personal assistant. Someone to track my time. And I'm not saying that that's what you should do, but for me, that was one of the things that I really needed. I needed someone to track my time, help me with time management. I knew that I needed to get good at it, and I needed to be great at it. And I sucked at putting stuff in my calendar, but I hired a personal assistant that's great at it and holds me accountable. So now I don't even have to think about what I'm doing. I just look at my schedule, and it's all there for me, and I can follow the schedule really good. But to get it all in that schedule, that's not good stuff for Corey to do. And so that was like my second hire was that. It may not be for you. Maybe you need something. Maybe you want an acquisitions person. But for me, it was just someone to help handle my time. For teaching and coaching and mentoring and all the things that I did. I just needed someone to help balance me and my time. And because what I've found is my time is way more valuable than everything else that I do. And so I really got to keep track of it if I want to be efficient. All right. So as you start to keep scaling and growing, as you're adding team members, right? And what are those we just talked about a little bit what those team members are. You could have an asset manager to help manage when you start getting more and more properties, right? You may want to have an asset manager. Before you even get there though, you might want to have an acquisitions person on your team, someone that helps you. And you can either bring these people onto your team or you find someone that wants to partner, and that's what they bring to the deal, right? A lot of times, sometimes I've found people that had a deal that I met at a conference or that I was introduced to that had a deal, and that's really what they had. Is they had a deal. They weren't going to do. They were going to try to do some of the other stuff, and so I just partnered with them and said, hey, listen, I'll give you some part of the GP for the deal, and I'll take care of all the rest. And that was good enough for them. So there's ways to leverage this stuff. But a lot of times, bring someone that has, they're bringing something to the game to help you do it. Now, eventually, this is my thought is I want to create a management company where my company is, instead of having deal partners and deal this and deal that, I wanted to create a company where we hire people and we have full-time employees. They get benefits. We have payroll that I have to meet. And I have a company. We have team members, and we have, we've went through traction. We understand our rocks, and we have a system that we operate from. And we have our mission statement. We have our goals. We have, our core values. And so we have decided that we wanted to become that. Now, what does that take? It takes money to be able to, have team members. When you have partners, they typically work for free because they're getting paid from the deal. But the trade-off is that sometimes you got to carve out or give up a lot of your deal. And my thought was, okay, that's okay in the beginning, but as I start to scale, I wanted to build a team around my company to where I'm paying employees and I'm getting them to buy into the fact of what we're doing. I have to, I pay them a lot less, I guess, than I would pay, people, to partner. But also I'm giving people jobs and I'm creating a company, and it's just different is the way I'm looking at it. But I'm also, now I have payroll. I have commitments. I have, people that count on me to provide income. So how I've learned to pay for this and pay for staff, and it's one of the things that I'm very, very adamant on, is making sure that you are taking a asset management fee in all your deals. And that typically should be about 2%. If you're taking a 2% asset management fee, on top of normally a management company is going to charge you 4%, and then you charge 2% to the deal as well for an asset management fee. What does that do? That helps keep your bills paid and keep your lights on as you start to scale. And, typically, I'll give an example. On one of our properties, we typically collect about $225,000 every month. And it's on collected rents. It's our total income line. And so times 2% is $4,500. Well, I mean, that's one person's, that's $50,000 a year roughly, right? 45 times 12 is $54,000. That's definitely a salary. If not, listen, we hire people that work at our properties for around 40, 45. So at 54, I mean, that's top of the chain there. You can get a lot out of a person that's making $50,000 a year. Maybe you hire, 30. What if you got 2 properties just like that? Now you're getting, $10,000 a month. What if you had 3? Now you have 15. See where I'm going? You can start adding your staff as you acquire deals. And I think that's where that helps scale your growth. And more importantly, though, you still have other things that you got to pay for. So like we talk about investor management software. So I use a software called IMS, Investor Management Solutions, which actually was just bought out by RealPage. And so we are looking actually at going to RealPage. We've been using Appfolio for a while, but as I'm starting to get quite a few properties under management, I don't believe it's the right software solution for me as a management software. And now that RealPage does own IMS, I think I can actually make this even more affordable for me to move into RealPage as a management solution software as well for property management. So we're thinking about moving to that. But that in itself cost me, I think, $1,200 a month. And so how do we pay for that, right? And when you're starting to operate, like when I first started, I didn't have it. But as I've started to scale and I wanted to give a better customer experience for my investors, we added that. And so again, the part of scaling is understanding what is your plan, what is your vision. And we wanted, without making it sound weird, but we wanted to be an investor management company, right? Like that's what we want to do is investor capital management, right? Without being under security and exchange, commission rules, guidelines. So like, I don't want to manage money, but like effectively do manage money being in the syndication world. We raise under an exemption, but we are definitely taking people's money in and we put it in deals and, that's what we do. And so, I mean, we want to have a professional experience for our investors. We want them to feel like we're investor grade. And so that was one of the things that we made as a buy-in to our company and who we are and what we were going to be. We said it like we want to be professional. And so we started taking steps to do it. Now, it didn't start in the very beginning, but as you grow and scale, you start saying, okay, how do I make because it becomes a snowball effect, right? As you start getting more investors will bring you more investors, will bring you more investors if they are having great experiences. So how do you give them great experiences? Pay them what you're going to say you're going to pay them. And I say that with a grain of salt because right now COVID is in effect. And we have student housing properties that are not paying. Yep. I just said it. Like, it's not all rosy and sunsets and palm trees in Kahuna land, kids. It's a little tough right now, okay? But does it change my whole outlook? No, we'll get through it. It's bumps in the road. We've made adjustments. We'll get through it. Like every company has to, no matter where you're at and what you're doing. COVID's a world pandemic. We're going to get through it. And we'll come out on the end fine. But, if I was to look at the media now, I'd be like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And listen, most of my investors are pretty understanding. Some of them are not, right? But that's the part of it. But at least they know that we're communicating. I think that's important. So we invested in investor management software. And I think as soon as you can, I think it's important for you. If you're trying to build that, if you want to, build a never-ending gobstopper, right? That keeps on giving. See, that is the golden goose of capital. When you treat it right, it keeps spitting out those damn golden eggs. And I'm telling you, those things are beautiful. And you want more of them. You want a lot of them. You want to attract those golden goose into your lives. And then you massage it and you make them happy and you figure out ways to add value and make their day, because they will make yours. They will absolutely make yours. And I want to leave on this note for scaling your business, right? In this business, is that you've got to believe it. Okay? You've got to set yourself up in your belief first, because that's where it starts. Okay? So let's just put a cherry on top of this thing and show you like what it could possibly look like. And this is just like me I was like, man, listen, what would it, if you did a deal a year for 5 years, what would it look like, right? And this is just like rudimentary math. This is not like me trying to look at and formulating exactly what's going to happen. But let's just say you buy a deal and you can make $75,000 in passive income for yourself on your side, on the B shares, okay? And you're the only guy that's doing in your deal, you're going to get it. That, and you're buying a $5 million deal. So I think that's very realistic. Like, to me, that doesn't seem like I'm trying to overcomplicate it or overshoot it, okay? What would that look like if you only bought one deal that looked like that and you did it 5 times in 5 years? In other words, one deal a year for 5 years. What would your life look like, right? Well, if you take that $75,000 and you did it times 5, that's $375,000 a year in passive income. And guys, that's pretty damn good. So 375 divided by 12 is $31,000 a month. When you put it down to like that, that's pretty damn good money, okay? And that's passive, whether like you're sleeping or not sleeping or whatever you're doing in life, you're still going to get your checks, okay? You're still going to get that money. I'm okay with it. Like, I'm like, can I check the box? Hell yeah. Can I say, I'll take it? Yes, please, for me. Can I supersize it? I mean, yes, I want $375 a year, please. Can I take that button, door number 2? So, and I think most of you guys would say yes as well. Okay. And then what if in that you bought a $5 million deal? Let's say in 5 years from now, your deals mature, right? Your deals start to mature. And let's just say that we double, right? I think it's very common for us to buy something in 5 years, maybe double. In other words, if you bought it for $5 million, it's worth $10 million. Okay. Now, normally, if you double something, you get to make a lot of the money. I'm saying, let's say you bought a $5 million deal every year, 5 years, one deal a year. And then at the end of 5 years, you're going to sell it. You're going to make $2 million. Okay. You're making $2 million every time you sell it. So in that 5th year, you get to that 5th year, boom, you got $375 in income, and boom, shows up $2 million, right? Next year, $375, another $2 million. Next year, $375, another $2 million. Now, what if you took that $2 million every time you made it and you reinvested it in your own deal where you were the investor, right? So listen, if you're paying 6 and 6 like I pay, $2 million times 6% is what, $120,000 in more passive income a year. So every year that you sell, and let's say you buy another deal, all you're doing is growing your money at a phenomenal rate. I'm not going to do the math, but it eventually starts to get stupid. And if you were to fast forward another 5 years from that point, and you're reinvesting your money into deals for just you. In other words, you're the owner and you are the investor. Like, to me, that's never land. That's where I'm heading. And like we've got deals that are starting to mature, I think next year, that's exactly what's going to happen is we're going to take, on some of these deals, one of these deals, I think we'll make like $3.5–4 million my side. And what am I going to do? I'm going to take that money and absolutely buy a deal just for Corey Peterson and Kahuna Investments. No partners, no investors. I am the investor. I'm the owner. And because I'm creating legacy wealth. And this is where this is what it could look like. So in 5 years, you're free. Okay. Can we all agree to that? If you do this business and find a deal a year for 5 years, you are free, my friend. At $375 a year income, most people are free. Okay? You do not now have to worry about money, like paying your bills. Okay? So you probably get there in your second deal, right? 75,000 times 75, maybe make 150. You've probably replaced your income by then for most people. Okay? So then everything else after that's gravy. And then that's where like it starts becoming a different life and different challenge. And it comes with different challenges too, by the way, right? And we'll talk about this later in a different episode. I think I've talked about it once. I can't remember what episode it was, but the power of 2 letters, 1 word, no. When you start making a lot of money, you got to learn to master the word no, because people are going to ask for it all the time. And sometimes it's not right to say yes. Sometimes you got to say no. If you said yes to every idea that popped in, you'd be miserable because it would run you down. So the power of no, when you start making money, you got to learn how to say no. And a lot of times it's to your friends and family. Believe me, right? How do I know? I know this. I know it from fact. So, but what I'm saying is in that 5th year, you're financially free. And then every year after that, so in my mind, it's a 10-year succession plan to get away from all investors where you'll never ever have to raise capital again. And here's the beauty of this too. So I want to illustrate this. Let's say you had on that $5 million deal, maybe you raised $2 million. And let's say, so the end of that 5th year, you make $2 million and investors have $2 million plus their back end. So maybe they've got a total of $3 million now. Okay. You take your $2 million, you find your own deal to buy. And now you still have your investors' money with $3 million. What do they want to do? Well, they don't want to go anywhere else. They're already jonesing on you. So now you have to have 2 deals for every one that you're going to sell, that you're going to exit from. Or you refi, or you keep the deal that you have and you refi to cash out all your investors. So you keep that deal, but then you go and invest into another deal with your capital. That's where it gets, so in this game, you have to raise money for 5 years. I believe if you do a deal a year for 5 years, and listen, if you can do 2 or 3 deals a year for 5 years, when you get to the end of that 5th year and you start to come back into where the maturity, you don't have to go raise money again. You've raised your tranches of capital for 5 years in a row. That capital is always going to be there, and most of it's going to want to reinvest. You don't have to worry about raising massive amounts of capital. At least in my opinion, you don't, because you just say, okay, well, do we keep this deal or do we sell it? If we sell it, what are we going to do with our investors' money? So we need to make sure we have another deal lined up. And then like the syndication world becomes way more easier. And then if you're smart, you're going to be doing deals with you doing your own separate deals. And I just truly believe in that. If you can start doing your own deals where you're just the investor and the owner, man, you'll be free where you now, and that's my goal for me and my family is in about another 5 to 7 years, I think I'll be there. And where now, like I look at my kids are in high school. What are they going to do? They're getting ready to go to college for another 4 or 5 years. I think my daughter wants to be in the family business. Maybe she doesn't. They have to come to me. I'm not pushing them at all at this date and time. Like they have to come back to me and say, "Dad, I want in." And I've left them a lot of clues. They understand it. But if they, and when they do, the goal now is not. I'm going to teach them the whole business, but really the point is I'm going to teach them the fundamentals of how to find great deals and how to manage them and operate them, right? I don't think we'll have to find money anymore. I think they'll just be like, guys, here's the deals that we have coming up. Here's the mature deals. We've got to find great properties to put this new money into. And then that's the job. And eventually it just becomes where we're managing our own. We become a family office. And to me, that's super exciting. And see, that's the vision that you put around these things. As you start to scale, you can do major things, mighty things, things that will change the world, things that will change you, things that will change your friends and your lives, your family. It's a game changers, right? And that's why I love this business. That's why I love this podcast, so I can show you through my words and my affirmations that it is true, that you can do it, that your belief has to be real, like mine. I didn't just think I could, I knew I could. I was relentless in my pursuit. I did not stop. I knew I had to tell myself daily that I was the man, that I was it, that I would surround myself with positive people, that I would not let the naysayers, the negativity come in and distract me and get me off course. And if I got off course, I would fight like hell to get back on course and to drive and to go and succeed and never quit. That is the definition, my friends. That is the commitment level it takes and the passion to be successful. Guys, if you believe it, if you truly believe it, you can achieve it. And your paradise is absolutely possible.